got the top honors at Nadra,
Yeah.
the Kiki Project. Can you tell us a little bit about that project, how that developed,
Wow.
and what it's like
Sure.
to be on top again?
Well, I look at those builds, I call them vanity builds or ego strokers. Um, you don't really like people say, man, are you going to retire on that one? No, I make my average income building. You spend more energy and more time creating something amazing than you do if you're just building squares and rectangles. Uh, I figure that build, you're lucky in your career if you get one of those in your entire career of building decks. If you get to build something like that once, that's amazing. For me, I've been cranking one out about every 2 to 3 years, which they take a lot out of you. I leave my DNA with these people. You get to know them, you become family and friends. You might go out to dinner with them after a few times after the build, just to keep in touch because you generate this synergy between clients when you're spending 6 months at somebody's home. And we're timely people. We're there at 8 a.m. and we leave at 4 p.m. So you have 8 hours to collaborate with me or come out and talk to me or get to know me. And so these clients, they become our friends and our family. And they're also spending quite a bit of money to create something that amazing. That was a 6 month build for us. So it took half a year to complete that deck. That was a month over what I thought it would take. But knowing as we got into the build, realizing she wasn't on board with the railing system that I wanted to sell her, going to have to upgrade that. And even after the cost of that and realizing, wow, it's double the price or whatever, she had the ability to afford it. So after ingesting that information and having a chance to reflect on it, she was able to go ahead and pull the trigger, which made it even better. It just, everything about that build, I just put all my energy into it. I had nothing else to think about. I mean, I was selling other jobs and keeping the business running, but my main efforts were on that particular project.
Well, can you give me a few details about that? I know that it was covered extensively, but can you let the audience in on how you created it and some of the techniques you used, and was it more than you expected? Did it turn out beyond what you had imagined in a more positive
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, I would think so. First off, it's a front and back deck. And I had a basic blueprint because the client, this home was very unique. It was built on piles. So these piles were driven back in the 80s, right into the ground. I don't know how many feet deep. And then the deck was also built on piles. The problem was when they built the home, they just pushed the framing of the home out as the deck framing. So that became a serious issue. But the client was like, I want to keep the piles. And I did an inspection on them, and all of them were good except one was marginal. But we decided to keep all the piles, put in new beams, kept a couple of the beams as well because they were integral to the home, but we waterproofed them so there's no longer any more decay or issues with those. So I kept the basic footprint and then I modified it. And she said, this one area where our fire pit is, I really want to change that. I don't really care for the way it is now. I want you to do something amazing. This is why we brought you in here. We know you have these abilities, these special superpowers that not many possess. I'm like, okay, I'll come up with something. So I got on the computer, started designing around things. And that's where things kind of took a couple rights and lefts until we finally dialed in on the design. And you can only, unless you're Robert Hodacek, you can only design so well on a computer. Like I have my limitations. I didn't recruit Robert on this, I probably should have, but I got it close to what I felt she wanted. And she's like, that's it. But even after that, as we're building, she's like, hey, can you maybe curve this side of this too, since you're curving this side? Is that possible? It's like, well, we are framing in aluminum and I've never done that before. So yes, I can do that. I'm kind of a yes man. I don't like to say no too much as long as, it meets our budget and it makes sense. We'll do it. And so just her little inputs here and there really helped navigate how we were going to do things. And then the primary attraction on the deck is this focal point, this center point on the deck where there's multiple levels that cascades into these different curved benches, different curved stairs, and then eventually goes into this curved tilt back bent bench with a curved back on both sides. and just everything. And I was taking boards that I really probably shouldn't have been doing this, but if you know me, then you know me. You know I'm going to push my boundaries. Sometimes I get in trouble, and I thought I was really in trouble. I threw away a couple $1,000s worth of materials trying to make the parts and pieces because I was asking the material to do more than it was allowable. That obviously the companies like TimberTech, AZEK, that's what I use primarily. So that product, they don't endorse what I do. They love it now, but back 20 years ago, I'd come to a trade show and they're like, Jason, we're not going to endorse you for this. We don't know what you're doing here. We got a bunch of other people that want to do it now because we were published in like Professional Deck Builder or something about it, whatever. And I said, I don't care. They said, yeah, and you're going to avoid the warranty and we're not going to honor that. I'm like, I don't care. That's cool. Thank you. My clients, this is what they want. This is what I'm going to do. If it falls apart or if it breaks later or delaminates or something, I said, I'm not going to ask for a warranty claim. I'll just make another piece. And they said, yeah, we're just concerned about all the other contractors behind you that maybe don't frame it the same way you do or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I see your concerns, but I'm never going to stop doing this. This is my passion. This is my art. So at first it was a really bumpy road to get to that point. And then eventually they started publishing my work in their magazine, which was kind of cool, or their catalogs and things like that. So I'm sorry, I know I'm going way off point here with it, but as far as the design of that deck, it's basically all of my knowledge over the last 35 years culminating into one project where I was given basically free reign. And when people do that with me, I really try to over deliver for them.
So how did you figure out how to do the things you didn't know how to do going into the project in terms of that bending?
A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of problem solving. I do that a lot. I problem solve in my sleep, which is kind of convenient because I'll go to bed stressing out about something, and by the time I wake up in the morning, I have an answer. Okay, this is how we're going to attack this. So if I don't have an answer, then it's like we got to figure this out. A lot of what we do, all deck builders, there's a lot of problem solving. You can build two of the exact same projects and have completely different processes of build because you're running into different issues along the way. So for me, the first one was, okay, we're using aluminum framing and we got to cut a 12-foot radius through it. And some of these angles are 70 degrees, which you can't use a chop saw for that. You have to do it a certain way. So we had to figure out, okay, how do we cut this? How do we get through it? And we were using all kinds of different tools to get that done. And then it's like, well, how do we connect it? There's not an end grain to screw to. So how do we connect this part to this part? And we're using the manufacturer parts and adapting them over, and then using different brands of screws and different fasteners to get what I needed and where I was comfortable feeling, okay, this will stand the test of time. Let's add this and this to it and we mock things up, fake it, whatever, and then finally execute. And that's how we created. I don't think most people realize the complexity or the difficulty of what we had to do with the materials we were using. But that deck's going to last 100 years. We've waterproofed all the beams, all the posts, all that stuff so that it will not take any more damage from the weather.